Hi there, and welcome to Story of a Startup. I'm here with my good friend Harris, who's going to be talking about his businesses that he's got. And I know it's been a while since we've done one of these, but we're trying to get back into the flow, bring on more guests. And Harris is our first one back after quite some time.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Welcome to
a bit of a catch-up, isn't it, for us?
Yeah, in fairness, us two haven't really seen each other for quite some time, except for when you were getting a haircut the other day in your shop. So.
Yeah, just passing. I suppose we're both busy in that sense.
Yeah.
So a lot going on.
So I mean, to people who don't obviously know you, who's Harrison and what you're about?
Right. I mean, the easiest way of saying it is I'd like to think of myself as a bit of an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I've been involved in business for maybe the past 15 years.
Yep.
Various businesses, various ventures. I mean, I'm sure we'll come on to some of those, some which have involved both of us. But in essence, I just enjoy business. I just enjoy being part of business, the kind of whole running of it, the stress of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't like the term businessman so much.
Yeah.
I probably don't even like the term entrepreneur, so I don't know why I introduced myself as that. But I just enjoy business.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Yeah.
I suppose, I mean, for a lot of people, like they always see like people setting up businesses. Yeah. And I always cast back myself and kind of go, why have I set up so many? And why is it just all of a sudden jump from one to another? What do you think your reason is? Because obviously you've not just got one type of business, you've kind of jumped around into different areas.
I think that the first thing is the initial kind of leap or the risk you take to kind of moving forward and think, right, I want to set my own business up. Mm-hmm. It can be scary, it can be a bit daunting, but once you kind of overcome that, you think, actually, this is pretty easy. I've got another idea. Let me try that up. Next thing you know, you're on Companies House and you register another business. 2 months later, you've got 5 limited companies.
Yeah.
But I think it's the initial kind of phase, just to overcome that. Once you do, it's relatively easy because people that are not in business kind of view it as a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
Something that's not accessible, but it's really not. It is a lot easier than people think in terms of the setup and the actual first kind of phases and stages as you go on, you know.
So what's the motivation for setting up a business? Is it the money? Is it what is it?
Do you know what? I think anybody would kind of be lying if they said the financial factor wasn't a motivation.
Yep.
It is definitely one of them. I think the other one, when you first start your own business, I think a lot of people are under a kind of an illusion that I'm going to be my own boss and I can work my own hours.
Yeah.
It does not work like that. And I think kind of maybe when I was about 18, I had a little bit of that mindset. I can work my own hours, do my own thing, but yeah, that motivation was soon kind of, I got a bit of a reality check. I thought, it's not like that. I'm going to have to work every hour under the sun. Otherwise, no one else is going to do it for me. But yeah, so definitely the fact that as you go on, there is some sort of leniency with the time you can put towards it. And, once you can delegate a little bit more, it helps. But yeah, that combined with financial and obviously I think the challenging aspect of it as well. I've never been shy to kind of not kind of test myself or go up against something that's kind of adverse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's cast your mind back. What was your first official business? Not selling sweets to the school kids.
So the first official was probably the public relations and marketing firm. Mm-hmm. There'll be kind of a recurring trend you'll probably pick up on this conversation. Yeah. Every business I've had zero experience in.
Okay.
And I'll probably come on to that a little bit later, but yeah, so it was PR and marketing. I never had a direct kind of correlation to PR and marketing. My background at the time was journalism.
Yeah.
So I guess in the old-fashioned sense of PR, it helps, content writing, working in the media, things like that. But my kind of focus was always on the sports aspect of it, particularly football. And that was the kind of side I wanted to kind of build and take forward.
Yeah, I just remembered something about football when you just said football. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I just remembered you did something. So we'll get into that in a second. So what is it about like football and kind of that world that kind of attracted you to that, besides you're a really bad fan of Man United?
Let's not get into that. But yeah, I think I've always had an interest for sport. It's football second nature. So I always envisaged myself working in football or sport in some capacity. And I went more towards the kind of sports marketing, sports agent side of things. Very tough, very difficult, as you can imagine. A new business, kind of a new person on the scene. You're trying to get deals with clubs, players, athletes. They don't know who you are, so you've got to really sell yourself. So I really enjoyed it in the beginning. I loved it. I thought, yeah, I'm in this world that I want to be in. I'm surrounded by people and things that I'm really familiar with. So, you know, how hard can it be?
Yeah. And then how hard was it?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I kid you not, for the first year, all I did was network.
Yeah.
1 year of networking, whether it was attending networking events, LinkedIn. I was constantly on my phone, on my laptop, trying to get connections with people. I had like 5 or 6 different pitches. So I had a pitch for someone in football, I had a pitch for somebody in like athletics, I had a pitch for people dealing with the corporate side of things, and I would just rotate depending on who I spoke to. I did find it was hard, especially locally and regionally, to kind of find people or networking events in the sports kind of world. Very limited. Most of the stuff was online here, or maybe like London or something. But yeah, it was very difficult. 1 year of pure networking.
And then what happened after that year? What was the kind of like your...
Yeah, so I guess the kind of breakthrough was I was kind of networking with like 2 people at the time, and I built really good relations with them. And then I think once they kind of recognised that I was actually in this for the long run and my intentions were good, because sport is really dirty business, or it can be. I mean, once they recognised that, you know, I did kind of have a little bit of pull, or I'd made some decent connections. They kind of let me in a little bit, and then started reeling off names that I was really familiar with. And I was like, oh, okay, right, do you know anyone that would be interested in this guy? He wants X amount. And then when you see the kind of numbers, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is why I'm doing it. But yeah, that was kind of an exciting phase. That's when it kind of really kind of took off. And then, you know, you've got clubs flying you out business class, and you're like in your early 20s and you're experiencing it. But again, I think it was important that I remain kind of level-headed and not to get carried away, because as hard as it was getting there, I know like one wrong kind of move could just damage it all, destroy it all. But yeah, so don't like to name drop.
Fine, don't name drop, but let's just say player 1 or manager 1.
So the initial one was it was a manager, a really high-profile manager, an ex-England manager. He was looking for a new opportunity, and was looking at the Middle East. And at the time, we went to Dubai, didn't we?
Yeah.
So at the time, Dubai was huge. It's big now, but it was, at the time, it was like a massive stepping stone for sports people to kind of get a big payday or a different experience, or kind of put their stamp on a part of the world or part of the footballing or sporting world that nobody had previously done. So I got in touch with this agent, brokered a deal with a manager for a club in the Middle East, and that was like my first big major deal, and I just loved it. I loved being part of the kind of negotiation, being shown around like the training ground and the facilities, reconvening with the manager. just meeting different people, just the whole kind of aspect of it. I was like, yeah, this is why I wanted to be involved in it, not just to say I'm in this fancy world, but to actually make a difference and my input means something. And then obviously we had the Olympic Games in London. I made quite a few contacts there with like British Olympic athletes, and there was like there was kind of a period where I was kind of taken back a little bit. Like I had a lot of contacts that wanted opportunities, but the number of contacts I had outweighed the number of opportunities. Okay. So that was probably, it got a little bit difficult then. Yeah. Again, looking back, I only had like maybe a year and a half, 2 years experience in that industry, but yeah, I loved it. I just wanted to continue it, keep going. Work with a couple of Dutch football players, and I think the kind of the funny thing about it was sometimes no matter what I did, it was always like out of my kind of hands. Some of the kind of deals or some of the kind of opportunities. There was one particular one where the player he loved the contract. He wanted to move to the club, but his wife said, "I'm not moving there."
Oh, really?
Yeah, that city is not like going to do me any good in terms of my profile, and the deal just went.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the deal was off the table just like that. Very frustrating, but things like that happened. Yeah. Like really unusual things. Yeah. But
yeah, because you always think that when it comes to football, is like, why would somebody want to go live in like, I don't know, Scunthorpe when they've got like a potential to go to London? Yeah. Might not get paid as much, but it's a London lifestyle, Manchester lifestyle, something like that. So I get that. Are you allowed to say what the deal was? Not necessarily the name again, but like how much the value was for the.
I think the contract was something like $4.5 million a year or something.
For that footballer.
For that particular footballer, yeah. So like $4.5 million a year plus like signing on fee, goal bonuses, appearance bonuses. Just things like that. But yeah, that fell through, so it was a bit of a kick in the teeth.
And then what was kind of your way to get back into it? Because I'm guessing you didn't just drop the opportunity, you kind of moved on.
Yeah, I mean, that opportunity, like for him, didn't end up happening for that particular player. Yeah. But then along the line, there were more, not as high profile, but still the same process, still negotiating, still kind of being a part of the whole thing. And I think it was maybe about 3-4 years into it where I kind of developed kind of a distaste for it. Like I kind of started to see things which I thought, right, this is not why I've got into this. And like for someone who's like a football fanatic, I just hated the game. I completely fell out of love with football because it was like combining something I love with business, and it was just like, but there was like deals where you're in on the deal and then the next thing you know, you've not been paid for it. Another agent has stepped in, someone's hijacked the deal. Then clubs, I think agents in general have a bad name in the sport. Clubs very reluctant to deal with agents at the time. The FA changed their whole kind of agent process and the examination thing, and it was just all a bit messy. Like you'd get random DMs on LinkedIn saying, I'm the cousin of, I don't know, Shevchenko. I'm the cousin of like Patrick Vieira. Can you get him a new deal? Okay. Like just random stuff, and then like it just got so bizarre, and it's like what the hell's going on here? Yeah. But do you know what happens there? It's like somebody that knows him, not his agent, might say, "Oh yeah, if you want something," he's like, "Yeah, go. If you can get a deal for me, get a deal." Then the word, it's like Chinese whispers. It gets to like 20-30 people down the line, and everyone's reeling off this guy's name, and like, I've got a signed mandate, he signed this, like I've got authorization to deal with him. But it's really not the case, and it's really not that simple or straightforward. But yeah, it just got like maybe 3-4 years in, and I just thought, it's not what I want to do. I thought it was, but it's not.
So then what was the kind of next step after that then? So you realised that football agent life isn't for you.
I think so much the enjoyed the life. It just was, the industry was going down like a kind of a downward spiral in terms of like the reputation and just things like that. But I think from there, just continued the public relations and marketing. And then that was kind of just steady or consistent. I'll be honest, it wasn't like spectacular. It was just normal. I felt like there was a lot of like just grinding out days just to kind of sell yourself. And then I think shortly after that is when we got talking.
Yeah.
I think we've spoken about maybe 2-3 different ventures.
Yeah, I think so. I'll keep up, to be honest. There's quite a few.
So I think that's when I think you'd set Mr. Lapel up. How far were you?
I think I was about a year in.
A year in.
Yeah.
And then we kind of spoke, and then I came on board, bought in, and then we kind of did whatever we did with that. I think it was it after then or during then we were looking at like another venture?
So we used to work at a call center together.
Yeah.
We both started, I think, within training or something together.
Yeah.
And then I remember us just chatting all the time about different ventures. Yeah. And I think I can't remember where this one came from, but in fairness, it would have smashed it now.
It would absolutely smash it now.
Was a recruitment company where your CVs were all video based.
Everything was online, CVs online, interviews online. It was just
and this is way before Zoom, and this is way before that world even emerged.
It was,
but we had them ideas, and we were kind of thinking about how we can start it. And there were like 1 or 2 other companies trying to do something similar, but the way that we set it out, and then we actually started getting advice from the call center that we worked at and their managers, and saying, what do you think about this from a recruitment aspect? I think we looked at some cost, realised how expensive it was.
I think we got a quote for a website like 70k, and we're like,
and obviously I think at the time we're like 20 in our early 20s, so obviously like 70 to 100 grand or whatever it was. It was a lot of money for kind of then. So that obviously didn't go anywhere.
No, it didn't. No, but I suppose we were decent with Mr. Lapel. Kind of developed a decent brand. The name was kind of resonated, and online, especially on Instagram, developed quite a decent following.
Yeah, I think the story with that was I set it up, and I think it got to about a year, and I kind of realised it's actually got a bit of legs. And then we started talking. And I think that I don't know how it even came about, but we basically just said, okay, well, you can buy in. To a certain percentage. I think we get that 50-50 split. And then we did a whole rebrand on the website.
I remember it was exciting because it just looked like there was a brand already there, but we just kind of took it
to another notch. And I mean, that was probably my fault at the time of why we exited, because I think you actually were doing a lot more than I was at the time, because I don't know why. I don't know what the aspect was.
I think,
do you know, I was working or something like that.
Do you know, I think with business, it's very difficult. Do you know, a lot of people in business, more people than you think have other jobs. So it's like always hard to balance. Very difficult, whether you've got 2 businesses or whether you've got a full-time job and your business, is hard to get that balance. And I think it was just that. It wasn't like anything
no,
else.
It was nothing else. I think it was just a matter
and to be fair, at the time, I think you were doing pretty well with your job and your kind of e-learning career.
It was going up as well.
And
that's the other business that we started looking at, eSwap. So I think we basically, because of my experience around e-learning and digital learning at the time, even then it was still relatively very early stages, which is something that I kind of regret, because I just think to myself that e-learning obviously over COVID just absolutely boomed because everyone had to do digital learning. And there's still a lot of opportunity in that world. There's a lot, because obviously everything has gone online. People are kind of thinking of new ways of doing it. So even I actually have been looking into going back into that world within Social Instincts somehow. I just don't know how it fit, or even if I enjoy it enough to even want to do it.
See, I think the problem was we were ahead of our time.
Probably.
We were too advanced.
But at the end of the time, I think with both of us, we've both realised that if we have an idea, we have to at least explore it. Because I'm one of them people, if I've got something, it's either going to work or it's not.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. Yeah, you lose money, which is obviously a financial strain.
Yeah.
But if you've got the money to invest and try something, why not? Is basically the way I see it.
And I think it goes back to the point I kind of made at the beginning. Once you overcome that initial first business phase and like the scariness and, you know, everything surrounding it, once you've overcome that, you're like, I can do this. And then you go again. And I think I don't remember who said this to me, but they were like, I don't go into business to fail, but it can so easily happen to like anybody. You can have your business plan, you can have your marketing plan, your marketing strategy, you can have like everything like worked out to a T, but you can't account for consumers, you can't account for the economic climate, you can't account for pandemics, you know. And I think it's a reason why, I think it's something like 20% of startups fail in the first year and 60% within the first 3 years, which is massive. So it's, I think, and someone used to say to me like, give it 2 years. Once you've been doing it 2 years, then you'll start to reap the rewards. I was like, I can't wait 2 years. Like it's like waiting 2 months is difficult.
I think a lot of people have that mindset, especially when like, even with Social Instinct, like we started it off, and then I think I got literally to a point where I got to my last £20, and in a good way, staff started leaving because of other opportunities and so forth. I never told my staff that I've only had £20 in the account, but the one person who remained, I was like, shit, what happens now? Like, I literally got £20, how am I going to pay you? And then luckily, all of a sudden, a client just came out of nowhere, paid the retainer, and it was all good. And I think that's things that people don't really get with business. Like, it's not all hunky-dory. And
to add to that, I think that's what part of being a business owner is about. Like, you burden that stress. And a lot of times you have to make it look like, yes, I've got it covered, it's fine, don't worry. Especially in the early stages, and then as you go on, you kind of pick up things and the way you deal with things and the way you can kind of like just adapt. I think adapting is very important. I think I can be quite a stubborn person, but when it comes to business, I'm very good at not taking anything personally. Like, I will adapt if it is in the interest of the business, even if it's something I don't agree with. If it makes business or commercial sense, I'm in.
I don't think a lot of people do get that kind of stubborn mindset. I think it's like either my way or that's it, but it's not. That's end of the day, it's a team effort or whatever. So okay, cool. So obviously that's kind of the past and everything into it. So where are we at now? Like,
so more recently, this, like I said, every business I've been involved in, I've had zero experience, and it's not a case of me winging it. Like, it's not my style, it's not how I do it. I think the thing I'm good at is sensing an opportunity and picking up things. So in the past maybe 3 years, I've had 2 ventures, so which have been an insurance firm and then the Arcade Barbers, which is in Leeds. The insurance firm came first. Again, zero experience in insurance. Not my world. Financial services, but it made sense. I had a business partner who worked in the industry for like 15 years, and I thought, sell me the idea, sell me it. Why do I want to get involved? And as we had conversations, I mean, it wasn't an overnight thing. It took like maybe 3-4 months for it to happen, because there were kind of regulatory kind of things we had to meet, like an FCA license and things like that. Anyway, that happened, and it was a little bit quiet at first. I was like, okay, well, you know, when you've got a call center, a small call center of staff, and you're like, the phone's not ringing. But the phone isn't just gonna ring. Like, what are you doing to get that phone to ring? Like, how are you buying leads? Are you marketing yourself? Are you making sure you're attracting the right kind of client for what you're offering? You can't target everybody for over 50s life insurance. It just doesn't work. But then, literally, like overnight, something happened called COVID, and the phones would not stop ringing. Like, it was so busy, because there was like panic. People thought, we're dying, we need life insurance. The over 50s are more susceptible to it, you know, and then they were taking out life insurance. And we went through a period of business where we were only a small team, like maybe like 5-6 people, and we were doing numbers that, you know, a 50-60 man call center would do. Like, it was huge or massive, like, and then I was like, I didn't expect this, and we're outgrowing ourselves way too quick. And I think that's one of the kind of things in business that you have to kind of, if you're lucky enough or fortunate enough to reach a position where you think, I'm outgrowing myself, like, what do I do? Like, can we still meet the demands of our clients? As you know, recruiting is difficult. In a call center environment, the staff turnover, like, you can be the best company to work for. A call center environment, the staff turnover is ridiculous. So obviously that was always a challenge, but yeah, we coped, we did it. Like, we got through 2 years of that with just a lot of business, and essentially that funded the next venture, which was Arcade. Arcade, again, I'm not a hairdresser, I'm not a hair professional, I'm not in the hair industry, but it made sense, there was an opportunity there.
Before we get into that, into the hairdressing, let's just go back to the insurance. So somebody's come up to you. Do they come up to you as an investor, or do they come up to you as like, actually be a part of this?
Yeah, so it was actually a friend of mine. He'd been working in the insurance industry for a long time, and he was like, why don't we do this? And it's kind of a good dynamic, because he's the one that is very like, we'll think it over like 10-20 times, very methodical, like, we'll plan it out. I plan, but I'm the one that will say, right, let's do it now. He'd be like, whoa, have we got this covered? Yeah, we've got it covered, let's do it. So I think that's why it was kind of a good match. And again, even though he had insurance experience, he didn't have kind of the experience on this side of things. So we were kind of on our own, in essence. We had to get the license. We had to meet with providers, you know, establish those relationships. And it's insurance, I think, as a whole, the industry is like, it's kind of, if you're a consumer, you're like, oh, insurance is, you know, it's too expensive, whether it's car insurance, home insurance, life insurance. And then from the other side of things, you're like, actually, what you're getting is okay and it makes sense, so why would you not want it? So it's kind of a weird contrast, seeing yourself on both sides, especially of an industry that you've never been involved in. And then I thought, I've got to know everything about this industry, because we were in conversations and meetings like in the first few weeks, and I'm thinking, right, these guys are talking insurance gibberish, like, how can I get involved in the conversation? Because if you're talking about business, money, risk, I can get involved. But when you're talking insurance specific, like, you know, policies and what they cover and this and that, even though I won't be selling policies, I need to know everything about them. I need to understand how it works. So I made it my mission in like 6 months to know everything about the insurance industry. And I did. Like, I was determined. And I think it didn't hit me until we were in a meeting, and my business partner was just sat there, and he's like, he just looked at me like this, and like, what's up? He's like, you don't need me here. Like, you just aced that. You're just talking like you've been working in an industry for like years. So I think that helped. He helps a lot, he's just like big me up a lot. But yeah, so I think going into something you're not familiar with, you have to be willing to like learn.
Yeah.
And no matter where you think you are in your business journey, you are never too like old to learn. So whether I'm learning what my sales advisors would learn or what the operations directors would learn, I need to know it if I'm going to run this business successfully.
Yeah. Cool. So then that takes you on to, like you mentioned before, opening a barbershop.
Yeah, again, a business I have zero experience in. It's kind of a recurring theme, as I mentioned. So with that, I used to get my hair cut, and the guy who's now my creative director at Arcade, he was like, Harris, why don't you, James, why don't you set a barbershop up? I'm like, James, it's not for me. Like, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
For like 3, 4, 5 years, he was like, okay, there's a unit, and we both went to go see this unit, and I was like, actually, I like the space, like it's got a lot of potential, but like I'm not a hairdresser, I'm not a hair professional. So researching, like, I mean, if you Google now like barbershops in Leeds city centre, you'll get at least 10 searches, and they're all within like a quarter of a mile radius of each other. Like, we're bang on in the middle, so quite saturated in that sense. So again, just seeking out the opportunity, and then once I kind of committed, I thought, right, the numbers make sense. I've got a team that's on board, got an exceptional team, and one thing kind of led to another, and then I think the exciting phase was kind of the aesthetics and the kind of whole interior design of the place. Something I've never like done, because I've not had a physical business where people come to visit.
Yeah, I remember seeing you when you were kind of like, I think you either opening it or you just told me you got it, and you said, and I was like, why are you opening a barbershop? And you were like, because I want a shop where it's literally a shop, so it's like storefront.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like some sort of a fascination, but I thought it's one kind of business I've not had, like an in-person service providing business. Most of it like e-commerce or telephony, things like that. But it worked once it was designed, the team was on board. In a weird way, the pandemic helped, because it delayed the opening, but in a way it was a blessing, because it just gave us that extra time to prepare and kind of market the brand, keep it fresh in people's mind. And then once the lockdown restrictions were like lifted, there was a massive influx of clients. We were fully booked, like pretty much from then till now. We're at like 90-95% occupancy. Like, it's ridiculous to get an appointment. I think you switch barbers because you can't get in the same
exactly.
barber.
Like, I was saying to James the other day, I was just like, because I went and actually got a haircut yesterday, and I was like, he's like, oh, it's been a while. I was like, yeah, because I can't get you. So I have to like book 2-3 weeks in advance to get you, which is an amazing thing to achieve, considering like obviously there's establishments that have probably been there for a lot longer. People trust their barbers and they don't really want to move around. And obviously costs are going up as well.
Absolutely. I think that you've kind of hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of other barbershops. There's a lot of choice, a lot of variety for people, and I think it's fine setting up, whether it's a barbershop, whether it's retail premises, but how are you different? What are you providing that's different or going to attract a new kind of clientele? And for us, as I mentioned, the team we've got is like exceptional, mega talented. The location it's central. The actual premises itself, the aesthetics of it, there's nothing else like it in like the vicinity. And I think the service we provide, I think we could be a barbershop, we could be like anybody else. You could move these guys into another shop and it could be the same as anyone else, but the service is second to none. Like, we really pride ourselves on what we deliver, whether it's the customer experience or the level of like the haircuts and the trims. And I think that's why we've kind of had the success we've had. 'Cause we just like to go a little bit beyond a normal service.
I suppose the reason why I keep coming back, and this is something that's really valuable to me, which makes me laugh because all my friends always talk about their barbers, is time. And you always hear like barbers, you get there, your barber's not ready, you're waiting 2 hours. I can remember one of my friends was on his WhatsApp group the other day talking about how he's waited an hour and a half when his appointment was at 12 and he's got seen at 1:30 or whatever. And for me, my time's valuable, so being able to go into a barber 5-10 minutes is all right, but just having somebody who's like on time, knows what's going on, I know I'm going to be in and out and bounce, and that's the reason why I always go back. And it's not a case of like, oh, it's your barbershop, because there's other barbers, like you said.
Yeah, of course.
For me, it's about the quality of the people there. Even though I do have to jump around here and there because people do get busy. But the good thing is that the second and third barbers are actually as good as the first.
Yeah.
So it's like the quality doesn't lower down.
No, of course. I think that's crucial in anything. Any service you provide, not to dilute the quality.
Yeah.
Whether it's the quality through your staff or the quality of your products and designs, is to kind of maintain that standard and that level.
Because I always think about, even with my business, is that single point of failure. Like if one person was to leave, you can't rely on that one person for a business. But otherwise, literally, they could just take the business and go somewhere else, and then you've got nothing.
No, I think you're right. Like, and you have to have that kind of trust and dependency on your personnel. But ultimately, as a business owner, like, it might sound harsh me saying this, but anybody could leave.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of make the necessary arrangements or adjustments to the team and to the business, because it's the business that will, if it's a valuable member of the team or if it's like a big effect, you will suffer. Yeah. Everybody else will continue to get paid. They'll get the monthly checks and whatnot, but you've then got to replan, redesign the business.
So now that you've obviously had success with one, are you tempted to open more?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think definitely the plan is to kind of add to the flagship. More imminently, we're in the phase of developing our kind of hair academy and like education side of things. So I think that's probably the focus for the next maybe 8 to 12 months. And then once that's kind of developed, then scout some locations. I mean, we've seen some locations. It's expensive, isn't it, to find a premise?
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends on the location.
To be fair, we were at the British Hairdressing Awards in London. I think it was like 3 weeks ago. Just another thing to add, we were the only like men's barbers outside of London, like especially I think in most categories, definitely in ours, to be nominated to make the finals, which was pretty cool. We didn't win, which was not cool, but
next year.
Yeah, next year. But yeah, we were down there, and like I think we were walking through Soho, and I was just on my phone just checking. Like there was like premises for like 125,000 a year, like 150,000 a year, and I think my business head has taught me, like, do you know what? If it makes sense and the opportunity to kind of recoup that is there, fine. But then my kind of the other side of me is like, 150 grand rent. You mad? Yeah,
literally, because that is crazy. But I think that's why a lot of people are going to e-coms now, because literally there is no rent. It costs you like £500 for a domain or whatever it is.
Exactly.
You got some server costs, and then you're pretty much good to go. So you don't really blame the people who say retail's dying and all the rest of it. But you can't blame it when rent's so expensive.
Of course, it's ridiculous. But on in terms of like, I think that's one of the kind of other obstacles. You've got your rent, you've got your business rates, you've got like if you're in kind of a communal kind of space, you've got your service charge. And I feel sorry for a lot of businesses. Like, it's difficult, it is tough, very tough. Just where we are in that vicinity, like the number of businesses I've seen close in the past like 6 months, businesses that have been there for like 10, 15, 20 years. And you're like, wow, if it can happen to them, it can happen to any of us.
That's true.
But again, it's important to kind of adapt to the times and things like that. So it's a tough one. You've constantly got to keep like adapting and changing the way you do things. And we've just increased our prices.
I noticed.
Everybody was like, you sure want to do this? I was like, we have to do this because one, we're undervaluing the service we're providing, and two, the entire costs of the country, the world, have gone up. They've increased. Our supplies, our products go up, our bills go up. So do we keep operating at the same price and the margins keep shrinking, and we're breaking even? Before we break even, the next thing you know, we're at a loss. It doesn't make sense. And I think any kind of, especially like we're fortunate, the client base we've got are very like understanding, they're very loyal, they're very committed, so they understand like why we have to do these things. I can't think of a single thing that costs the same now as it did like a year ago. A year ago even. It's ridiculous. I mean, look at like cars. The car market went ridiculous. It's kind of leveled out now, but it's just nothing stays the same. I mean, people, you get all this economics talking about inflation and whatnot, but the actual nitty gritty just things are more expensive, so we have to adapt.
Cool. So what's next?
I think for the kind of next year or so, definitely the focus is on this academy, because I really think there's a lot we can do with it. Probably having a lot more conversations with you about it on the kind of digital and online aspect of it, but I think we can really kind of make a stance in the industry. We're really big on education, we're really big on learning. We can kind of instill that into the next generation of hairdressers and barbers. We'll have our own kind of private curriculum. We work with like colleges and education boards and offer apprenticeships, online courses, learning seminars, just the whole kind of whole thing. In essence, it's a school. So just no dinners. So that's kind of the next maybe 12 months. There's a couple of other things I think I've discussed with you just in the background, but let's see what happens.
Do you think that having, because this is something that you'll see at Dragon's Den when somebody comes on and say they've got a job plus this thing, and then they always go, how can you focus on many when you should be focused on one? How can do you manage that? And do you think it's a bad thing having too many businesses, or do you think you should focus on, if somebody was coming up to you now and go, I want to start a business, I've got a couple of ideas, would you just say focus on one and that's it, or would you say focus on one then do the next one next year? Or
I definitely think it's where you're at, what stage you're at. If it's your first business, definitely focus on that one business to start with. Once that develops its legs and whatnot, then you can think about others. But when you've reached a kind of stage where you've got 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, you're able to kind of develop a mechanism or a management system. It's like you have your own like kind of a management system, like a CMS, like built in your head. And then you've also got to be able to trust the people you work with. Trust is massive, so then you can delegate responsibilities, they can micromanage and things like that. But I don't think it's a bad thing having more than one. Of course, it takes up a lot of your time. It can be it can cause a lot of stress. You might feel like you're missing out on things, but there's a long-term goal. There's a lot of kind of sacrifice, especially in terms of time, but there's a long-term goal. So I definitely think more than one business is manageable, but you have to have the right team to kind of do those things.
Do you think of exit when you build a team?
100%. Like every business I've had, I will not go into a business without an exit strategy. Like I've always had this kind of ideology of like, get like a merger or acquisition or something, because I always feel you can develop a business, you can grow a business, and then you can take it as far as like you can physically like and mentally take it, and it might not go any further. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs make mistakes. They'll still hold on to it. I hate this phrase, it's my baby. Like, it's not, it's a business. You've taken it as far as you can take it, exit. Because that business is going to decline. Like, if you can't offer it anything else, it's not going to move from its current position. So, definitely exits are like so important.
I don't think people think about, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and even like when you see them all on Instagram or whatever, they don't talk about exiting. They always talk about this is the plan. Oh my God, like, you can make X amount a year. But people don't talk about exit strategy.
Yeah, no, you have to like, it's impossible for you to be in a business until the day you die. Like, but I suppose it is possible. Like, there are people that have done it, but why would you want to continue that? I get family businesses and they passed on generation to generation. Yeah, that kind of works. But in terms of developing, growing, sustaining a business, and then knowing when it's your time, like I've added. If you truly care about that business and what you've built, and like if you want to leave a legacy or whatever, then you should know when it's time. Like either someone buys in, you sell up, or you know, the direction changes. You have to know when to do that. And I think it's again separating the personal from the business. Like if it makes business sense. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, if someone came and offered me like 2 mil for the share, but you know, you have to have some sort of an exit.
You've got obviously experience from your own family who basically have exited their businesses and obviously made quite a lot of
definitely. Like it's so undervalued and so like kind of thought of to have an exit strategy. The biggest companies and biggest businesses in the world like have been owned or developed by people who have like let somebody else acquire the business.
100%.
So I mean, it's definitely it's a really good tool to have. But nowadays you get a lot of people just starting businesses with the sole purpose of selling them.
I think even with me now, because I'm going out for investment, I've started thinking about like, because one of the VC companies, the venture capitalists, were like, what are you what's your exit strategy? And I was like, shit, I don't even think I can go this. They're like, well, what's it good to me? Like, so I was like, okay, now I need to think of an exit strategy straight away. So it definitely is something to think about, especially because the investors aren't going to be there forever as well. So they want to kind of come in 2 years, make the money, bounce and go. They'll probably sell their shares to somebody else. And
I mean, the last thing they want is they've been in it for ages and someone else buys in, the shares get diluted and whatnot, and then you're all just stuck there and you've not kind of got what you can potentially get from it. So exits are like
definitely
underrated.
100%, and it's very lucrative because if somebody does offer you 2 million, I'm pretty sure I'll be taking it or telling you to take it.
This is what I mean. So I think that's why it's important to grow a brand. Once your brand is like, the thing is, a lot of it, even if you look at like online companies, if you look at people like Google, that some of the companies they've bought, they've not necessarily been like major companies, but they sense, right, these guys, they've developed a bit of a brand and they're offering something that we can kind of take advantage of or capitalize on. So before that trend emerges and before they kind of blow up, let's go in, let's offer them 20 million, let's take it. So we need to aim for Google.
Tech business next.
But it is like tech businesses and online businesses are just like they're the ones that offer like so much like potential in terms of growth. And I mean, you know yourself, like look at Mr. Lapel. It did massively well on Instagram. How long ago was that? When
it was about 6 years ago when Instagram was at its infancy. And influencers were even a thing.
And influencers weren't a thing. I remember we were speaking to people from Essex and Made in Chelsea and things like that, and like I don't even know who they are, like but like now I'm like, if that kind of traction happened, like what's going on now in the wave, it'd be ridiculous. Like it was still relatively new. I think I joined Instagram in 2012. And
now it's all TikTok.
We're on TikTok now as well.
Perfect. So we're going to obviously wrap up because we've been chatting for quite some time now. So for kind of the next steps, if anybody wants to follow you or any of the ventures that you do, where do you want them to go?
I mean, you can just come straight to Arcade Barbers. Yes, at Arcade Barbers on Instagram. And if anyone does want to directly get in touch with me, just drop us a DM and it'll get passed on to me.
Cool, amazing. Well, thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you, I appreciate it.